Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to another live episode of the Sports Report Live. I am your host, the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Big weekend it was throughout the world of collegiate athletics. The FCS has made their picks. And once again, another HBCU gets the snub, but that's just my opinion. Huge weekend in Urbana, Mississippi. Alabama State, a 4-P. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus, we'll talk about the NFL and a whole lot more. We're going to jump right into tonight's episode. We have a special guest on the line with us, and we're just going to let her tell her own story. We're going to present to some and introduce to others the head volleyball coach of the Alabama State Hornets, and that is none other than Penny Lucas White. How you doing this evening, ma'am?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, as they say, doing it the hard way, you come in the number 5 seed, you weather through injuries, and you come out a champion yet again. What you got going on, Coach?
It's called perseverance. It's called finding a way of making one. It's called trusting in the process. I have a great group of young women that trusted the process, because trust me, the adversity that we faced this year with all the injuries, we start out with 3 setters, we end up with one. One of our most dominant hitters ends up with a dislocated finger with the bone coming out, and you just name it. It happened. But we had to trust the process, and we had to keep our eyes on the prize, meaning it doesn't matter. You know what they say, the race isn't given to the swift, but
Nor
it's given to
strong.
those that endure.
Yes, ma'am.
Nor to the strong, but to those that endure. So we had a different journey this year, and we found a way to just rely on one another and just believe that in the end we'll cross the finish line first.
Well, you crossed the finish line first for the 4th consecutive year. And we know each year has its own special memory. But at least since I've been knowing you, and it's hard to believe, I won't tell how long it's been because that'll age both of us. But this has to be one of your better coaching jobs to come out, especially come out with a championship like this.
Well, I would definitely say this, that I didn't get here by doing everything by myself. I have some phenomenal assistant coaches who has believed in just our philosophy, in shaping and molding our young women on a day-to-day basis. And my assistant coaches was willing to go the extra mile, whatever that was. Watching videos, sitting down with the girls, showing them videos, working out, playing against the girls, just the whole nine. And they have just been resilient, as well as they have a heart to serve, and they have been just phenomenal in the way that they got us here. Behind every great coach is an even greater coaching staff.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this was one of those bittersweet deals as far as I was concerned. I always root for you, but you beat my school, Prairie View. and you know, I'm going like, now, should I congratulate her or should I choke her out? So I was like, I'm going to be the bigger guy and I'm just going to congratulate. But you did it being the quote-unquote underdog to speak with the phenomenal year that Prairie View had. They were the number 2 seed. They had kind of blown through the tournament. And if I be honest, Coach, when we did the coverage for the Western Roundup back in September, I know you were down with injuries and everything, but you guys, got defeated against Texas Southern. That was the strange one because you were up 3-1 to Texas Southern, and then you end up losing in 5 sets, and then Prairie View ends up.
Oh yeah.
You know.
We were up on Prairie View.
Right. I was going to say you were up.
And,
so, what was your message going into this championship round?
I didn't have to have a message by then because at that point they had learned sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. But I'll tell you the difference in early on. We graduated some phenomenal seniors last year, and I'm not making excuses. But at the end of the day, we brought in 11 newcomers to our program. whether they were freshmen or transfers. So the early roundup, we're up 2 sets and we can't finish. And then we're up 2 sets again and we can't finish. We're down 2 sets to 7 and we come back and still can't finish. The crazy part is we hadn't been able to finish at all this year in a 5th set. That's really unusual and uncharacteristic of my team. But one thing for sure that Alabama State understands is conference tournament time. Doesn't matter what they've done in the preseason, during the conference season, that mindset set in and they understand that extra push, that extra nub. But by then we had finally found a groove that understood we're going with the 5-1 and we're going to run this offense. I love a 6-2, and I don't know who understands volleyball. I have an affinity to a 6-2 offense and had to run a 5-1, just like we did last year. So we do what we have to do to win, but the difference is we started tweaking things after the first round that we went 1-4. The second round that we went 4-1, and then down the stretch we were able to pick up some things and make some changes. But I want to applaud Prairie View. They had a phenomenal season. They were a totally different team all year. They looked great on the court. They did a great job. And I applaud what Coach Tyler has done with the program. And at the end of the day, I think experience played out. And at least they got there. And I'm sure they'll give us and anybody else a greater fight next year. But I'm very, very happy with the way my girls showed up and carried us across the finish line.
We're talking live right now with Coach Penny Lucas White, SWAC volleyball champion. It's not a broken record, but this is the 4th consecutive year. And you made mention on the phenomenal and the strong season that Prairie View had. We've watched them develop under Coach Tacho Tyler. This was by far the best year that she had coming into the season. And what growth from outside looking in did you see that helped Prairie View catapult to the season that they had this year?
I think they have a lot of energy, obviously, and they're very excited to play. They move well. They're fast, meaning they're scrappy. They were really, really scrappy. And I think that had propelled them to play. I think they played against a number 3 seed, which was Jackson State last night, who was a little bit taller but younger, because they were loaded with freshmen, but a very talented team. Jackson State was. They ended up with the Player of the Year, the Libero of the Year. When I tell you, and the Freshman of the Year, Jackson State was loaded. Their youth showed up last night. And that's how Prairie View got past them.
Well, it's ironic because Jackson State handled Prairie View during the regular season. And then when it came to tournament time, Prairie View was able to return the favor. You guys go back and forth, and then you return the favor at tournament time again. So I guess the key to all this is to continue to build on what you have and try to get better. Now, we all know that getting better means advancing past that first round. This is your 4th shoe now, and you got a matching set right now. You come in probably the lowest seed since you've made it to the tournament. What do you see different about this team compared to your other teams and the fighters' chance of advancing? Hello? Uh-oh, we may have lost it. Okay, you there, Coach?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. I think it doesn't matter what seed we come in, and because of our record, we're definitely going to be, the 16th seed. But in years past, that wasn't the case when we were able to put up the bigger fight. But I'll say this, it's all about the experience. For our young women to have the experience that they get year in and year out, to go to the big dance and they to play against the big schools, that sets the bar for us at Alabama State. And I think that's why a lot of kids want to come and play at Alabama State. is because of almost the guaranteed experience that they're going to have with the tradition of winning, with the expectation and a level of excellence in the way that we train, in the way that we approach ourselves in the classroom, and in the way that we carry ourselves once we graduate. I don't care where we play. All of our alumni, so many of them come back to support our young women. And they stop in throughout the season just to give them words of encouragement. At the end of the day, it's about building leaders and champions in this life, because nobody's going to remember the score 10, 15 years from now, but they definitely will remember the experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And right now, reminding folks that we are speaking live right now with Coach Penny Lucas White, four-time consecutive SWAC volleyball champion, just on the road, on the way back from Itta Bena, Mississippi. Coach, how long of a ride is that for you guys?
I think it's about 5 hours, but if you hear my girls in the back singing, they're in the back having a good old time right now. And, you know, that's what youth does for you. They can take any amount of hours and turn it into something spectacular. So they're back there singing and having a good time.
Well, they're having a good time, and deservedly so. And we are so appreciative of you taking time out of your schedule. But you know what, Coach? I want you to help me out for a second, because some people think that people are Johnny-come-latelys. But we've been trying to help you guys promote volleyball for quite some time now, and I want you to help reach those that may hear this on what can be done to help bring more awareness for the volleyball programs, because I know it kicks off right around football season, soccer season, and you guys work just as hard as those other players. So here's your moment to shine.
Well, I would say this: if you see any little girls anywhere that's outside passing a ball back and forth, get them in some coach's gym. Take them to see a college game. Take them to go see a high school game. Because what you will be doing is opening a door of opportunity where a kid that may be talented can end up with a scholarship somewhere to just open a door for her future and change the quality of her life. Change the quality of her life. And that's really important, is that we make sure that we create opportunities for our young girls to excel.
Yes, ma'am. Beautifully stated and beautifully said. You have a watch party coming up. Where do you guys think you'll end up?
I don't think my kids care where we end up. Right now, they're thinking Baylor or Texas.
I heard somebody say, is that Eric? Is that Eric?
Yes, that's Eric. Yeah, and Eric Evans.
Well, look, tell him, Eric, that the doctor said hello.
Dr. Prince says hello, Eric Evans. He says, how you doing?
All right, good deal. So you say Texas, so you'll be back in Texas. Texas been good to you in the past.
Yes, it has. We went to Stanford last year. That was a great experience. So, you know, they love the experience. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter who's across the net, because I think I'm going to always get the best out of my girls. They're going to give you what they have.
Okay. Then speaking of the I'm going to call them young ladies. You can call them girls, but I don't try to cross women. So
well, I didn't mean that. I just called them young women all night. I'm looking back at them right now, my young women.
Why don't you roll through your roster real quickly? And before you do that, I want you to give me your unsung hero. We know about the obvious players that star level has increased, but who is your unsung hero for this year's squad?
My unsung hero would be Mackenzie Boland. Here it is. You got to transfer. She's new on the court, and she goes from playing at the JUCO level to playing at a D1 level, thinking coming in she's going to run a 6'2", and she ends up running a 5'1" due to injuries. We watched that kid transform, and I think once she and I had a talk, she decided, you know what, I'm here to compete, and she just turned it around. And she turned it around just before we went up to play A&M. I believe that, to me, was when the lights came on. And she took us on her back, running a 5'1", and she did it phenomenally. And she's really a quiet person, But once you really get to know her, she's really funny.
Okay.
So that would definitely be one of my unsung heroes.
And she's your
then I have
libero.
two
She's your
more.
libero, correct?
No. Mackenzie Boland is my setter.
Okay, very good, very good.
Yeah, number 20. And then I have a number 2, a freshman out of Arizona, Emerson Bellis. That for sure. She held us down in the backcourt. I know when we played against Jackson State at Jackson State, she had 34 digs. She has showed up on a continuous basis as a freshman, just running the whole backcourt. She, I think she had a total before the conference tournament started, 453 digs. And I think the libero of the conference ended up with 500, which was also a freshman.
Right.
So you can tell we got a lot of bright talent coming up in the SWAC. And then my third unsung hero is Tyra Cottingham. She hits the leather off the ball, but she's actually found her own. She's found her own rhythm right now. And she's a force to be reckoned with in the front court. Trust me, you don't want to be on the second line trying to dig her. And I don't think you want to put your hands up to block her. But she has really done a great job for us this year as well.
Well,
But those are my 3.
Those are your 3. Well, it's always good when it's a team effort coming together, and we're truly excited for you. I wish my Panthers could have come out on top, but if we're going to fall, I'd rather fall to the champion than to fall to someone who hasn't been there. Coach, I want to thank you, and I want to give you an opportunity of having some closing thoughts and comments as we close out this segment.
I think every day that we wake up, we just thank God for the opportunity to be able to do a job that I love, because when I go to work, it's not like a real job. I actually get to go in the gym and hang out with doing something that I love to do. I thank him also for another opportunity to still be able to play, knowing that on Sunday we get to have one more opportunity to suit up in our ASU uniforms this season to play with the hopes of advancing to another day to play. I thank him just for the opportunity that he's given me as a leader to be able to work with young women and help build and shape them into champions of life. Because at the end of the day, we use the court as a laboratory for life. And hopefully this would teach them how to handle adversity and still be able to stand, having done all, to still stand, knowing that they are strong, they're intelligent, and they're gifted, and they're enough. What they have is enough.
You know what? I'm speechless right now because, as I said, that was poetic justice. Poetic justice. Coach, congratulations again. And let's get together once we find out who you're going to be matched up with, where you're headed, if you're coming back to Texas or what. And we'll do this again if time permits itself. How about that?
That sounds like a plan, but I think my girl's going to want to do their normal their cheer, if you don't mind.
Hey, go right ahead. We're gonna let it get done right now.
All right, here we go. Yeah. There you go, Dr. Prince. I appreciate your time.
Hey, we appreciate you guys. Congratulations again. That was, and I always call her doctor, but she plays like a doctor. Dr. Penny Lucas White and the Alabama State Hornets, winners of the 4th consecutive SWAC title. We're going to take us a quick break, and we'll come back with Brother Charles Edmund. You listen to the Sports Report live right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Keep it where you got it, and we will be right back. Are you looking to expand your business or services? Let the Open Mic Broadcast Network help lead the way. With our customized campaigns, we are definitely able to reach your target audience. For more information, dial 832-213-8824. The Open Mic Broadcast Network, serving the community through faith and athletics. The voice of student athletics.
I present to you 3 of the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth, Algebra 2, weighing in at a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages, the multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you one chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. I'm in. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
Are you one of the many Americans that deal with the effects of diabetes? Diva Skin Conditioner could be the remedy that you need. Diva Skin Conditioner is a formulation that was designed with you in mind. Diva Skin Conditioner comes with a money-back guarantee. That's how confident they are in their product. For more information, visit divafeet.com. That's D-I-V-A-H, feet.com. Or you can speak with a representative by dialing 903-270-0026. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Sports Report Live. Dr. Mike Prince here with you. We come to you Sunday nights from 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we want to thank Coach Penny Lucas White, 4-time champions. Man, they got over my Panthers. A bittersweet deal, but couldn't happen to a better person. And speaking of 4 times, how about 6 times being the Eastern Division champions of SWAC football? We're going to hear now the voice of the Alcorn State Braves and Alcorn Sports Network, none other than my tall radio friend, my homeboy from St. Louis, Brother Charles Edmund. How you doing this evening, sir?
Hey, Dr. Prince, how are you?
Man, I'm doing great, man. You sounding kind of laid back, like you may have been sipping on a little cognac and smoking a stogie after getting that win to secure the home challenge here for the SWAC championship, man.
Well, it's been I'm kind of laid back because it's been a long season, and you know you can't believe that the regular season's over with. You're glad that your team is playing a little postseason football, but you're just in amazement how quickly football season starts. You know, you and I and other colleagues were at SWAC Football Media Day in July, and I remember that like it happened yesterday, and already that's been 5 months later. And here it is, the end of the regular season. So, you know, when football regular season ends, you know, the grind slows down a little bit, but it's hard to come down off that high and off that grind. And so, you know, you're just kind of taking it all in for right now. But it'll pick up here after the holidays. Yeah,
it will pick up. You really, just for lack of a better word, took care of business with Jackson State. And now you await the winner of Grambling and Southern University at the Bayou Classic. And the important keynote to that was there was a little bit of urgency coming into this final game. If you lose, you would have to go on the road, but now you get the comforts of being at the reservation. How big of an advantage is it to play at home in front of the home team?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, what we've seen in this conference is that when you're playing at home, you have a huge advantage. It's nothing like being on your home field, or like Fred McNair likes to say, playing on your own grass. And, you know, there was, I was at practice last Thursday, the last hard practice before the Jackson State game, and he kind of got on his team a little bit about he felt like on Thursday that the sense of urgency wasn't there. And, you know, you practice right aside of the football stadium, and he pointed and like, look, if we don't take care of business, we're not going to be playing right here. And he was pointing at Jack Spinks Marino Castle Stadium. So, you know, Fred McNair doesn't say much. You know, the sense of urgency, when he sees that his team is slacking, he wastes no time in letting his team know, hey, get it together. And he felt like last Thursday's practice wasn't one of the team's best on a Thursday, but I tell you what, the Braves started okay. I think Jackson State, you know, the life got knocked out of them when they had that field goal blocked. You know, we had a couple of turnovers. You know, we got some things to clean up, the turnovers, the pre-snap penalties. I think those are the two things we need to look at going forward. You can't afford the false starts and the offsides on defense and things like that. So there's some stuff to work on, and we'll have some time to work on those as we get ready for Southern or Grambling.
Right. Now, as we talk about this, it's no secret that when you talk about Southwestern Athletic Conference football, they're the big three. You got Alcorn, Grambling, Southern, whichever order you want to put them in. Tomato, it doesn't matter. And it comes down to this final week, and who are we talking about? Alcorn, Grambling, and Southern. This game of the Bayou Classic is a game on a whole nother level with or without championship implications. If these teams were 0-9 going into this season, 0-11 going into this, it would still be a huge game because of the rivalry, the bragging rights of Louisiana, and the storied history that these two programs take. When you see this game on paper, on television, how do you see it measuring up?
This year I do, but I've gone on record as saying I think this Bayou Classic is not going to be as offensive-minded as the ones in years past. I have a feeling, and it's just my opinion, that this might be one of the lower-scoring Bayou Classics. It's going to be Southern's offense versus Grambling's defense, and which one of those imposes their will win the game. I mean, Grambling offensively doesn't have the same weapons. They don't have the same punch offensively. You know, Hickbottom manages the game, but they don't have the big play, explosive potential offensively. But their defense, especially their front four, is terrific. Southern, in the meantime, has the RPO quarterback in Skelton. They can spread you out and they can score quickly. And I think at the end of the day, it's Grambling's defense versus Southern's offense. And I do think in championship football, defense wins the day. I think you look at the Alcorn-Jackson State game, it was the Braves defense that created, 5 turnovers, I think 4 picks, something like that against Jackson State. And against Grambling, the games, if you look at Grambling down the stretch, you look at holding the Braves to just 1 touchdown. They shut out Valley. They did a good job in the second half against Texas Southern. Even though Southern's been scoring a lot of points, their defense has had some issues as well, giving up a lot of points. And they're winning games by scoring a lot of points. You know, they outscored Alabama A&M. They outscored Jackson State. But their defense has been kind of on the skids. So I think at the end of the day, I do see this being a defensive-minded game, and if it is, I think it favors Grambling. But if Grambling's defense springs a leak and Skelton has a terrific day, and if it's an offensive fireworks type of game, I don't think Grambling has enough offense to go toe-to-toe with Southern.
Now, once again, we're talking with Charles Edmund, the voice of the Alcorn Sports Network. Those who don't know, Charles Edmund is almost torn between the two. We know Alcorn pays the check, but he's a Grambling alumni. And when you look at this thing, it's almost like the tale of literally 3 coins. Alcorn appears to have Southern's number, and it appears that Grambling has Alcorn number. And with that being said, do you have a preference who you face, sir?
I think from a matchup perspective, I think the challenge of facing Grambling again would be terrific for the Braves. And I think the Braves, it doesn't matter who we play. Whether Southern or Grambling, you're in the championship. I do think from a player's perspective and just kind of getting a read of the players, I think the players would like to see Grambling again because that's one that they let slip away. But at the same time, if you're facing Southern, you've had Southern's number and you want that to continue. But at some point, you do know that sometimes that number stops, sometimes that run stops. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but Southern University just can't seem to match up with the Braves offense in that RPO. Alcorn offensively, especially the run game, has really gashed Southern's defense. One game they had a 400-yard rushing game on Southern's defense, and I think that's what stands out to the Jaguar Nation that particular game. But Alcorn has Southern's number, and particularly in the passing attack. In the running attack. If the Braves can run the football, obviously that opens up the passing game. For me personally, I would like to see Grambling again. I think that would be a heck of a chess match. Grambling's vaunted defense against Felix Harper and the weaponry that the Braves have. I would like to really see that game But I also think if Southern wins, you're going to see the fireworks and you're going to see a ton of points scored. A lot more than I think the 27-13 game that we had against Southern about a month ago.
Okay, now a lot of people are saying that whomever Alcorn faces, they're going to have to do a little bit better on the run defense if they've done the last couple of games. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, we're shorthanded 2 running backs. Deshaun Waller's missed the last couple of games. We're also without Trey Turner, our probably our number 3 back. So our number 1 and our number 3 back has been out the last couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll get Deshaun Waller back in the championship game, and hopefully we'll get Turner back as well. And that'll just add an extra dimension. But we've been able to run the football, maybe not as explosively as we have early in the season, in the middle part of the season, but our running game is still pretty doggone effective, especially when you add Felix Harper, who can do some good things running the football, and we saw that against Alabama A&M. We saw that against Prairie View. So I think, when you're talking Braves football, Mike, you're talking about running that football. And if you can't stop the Braves running attack, if you can't stop the running attack, you have no chance, because they're just going to keep gashing it and gashing it. When you think you crowd the box, you got the receivers. And the one thing Felix Harper's doing is putting the ball where it's supposed to be, right on the receivers, dropping it in the bucket. I mean, some of the passes that he has thrown this season have been spectacular against pressure, letting the receivers run under it, let them go get it. As a receiver, that's what you want. Just give me a chance to make a play. And the Braves receivers, Pringle, Chris Blair, Juan Anthony, are doing just that.
Well, we talk about Felix Harper, and deservedly so, but Noah Johnson has become almost somewhat of the forgotten man. And I'm thinking, this is just me talking out loud, that Fred McNair, with this extra week of prep time, is probably going to design a play or two where both of these guys are on the field at the same time. And because I know that he has to be healthy at this point, but because of the play of Felix Harper, just say, sit there on ready, son, and be ready at any given moment.
Well, I can report this to you, and Fred McNair talked about it on his show last Monday, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow. Noah Johnson's season is over. So you won't see Noah Johnson anymore this season. So it's all Felix Harper, it's Thaddeus Webb, Jaron Russell. So there will not be Noah Johnson will not return this season, and then it'll be up to him to see what his options are going forward if he would like to pursue a 6th season, which requires a medical clearance from the NCAA, something that's not easy to obtain, even though we've had a player do it, but it takes a while. So I know this is something that people are still kind of up in the air about, but Fred McNair mentioned this past week, Noah Johnson's season is over. So it's all Felix Harper at this point.
Wow. That's got to be devastating for that young man. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it is tough. It's just a tough situation for Noah, just trying to get healthy and get back. And but at this point, with the limited number of games, and, again, with the new redshirt rules, you can play 4 games and declare without declaring a red shirt. So he's only played in 3, but he's already been redshirted once. So in order to get his year, he has to apply for a medical, which, again, as we've talked about, and we've seen players at all levels, FBS, FCS, some get approved, some get denied. And if you're denied, you can appeal and all that. But if that doesn't go through, that means your career's over. So that'll be something that I'm sure we'll be talking about in the off season. But it's tough for Noah Johnson, and he's been on both sides of this coin. He came in for Lenore's Footman before Noah Johnson had the keys, and he won a championship for us. And now, unfortunately, he's on the other side of it, and that injury against McNeese in week 3 was serious enough to where it's going to be tough for him to really get back to where he can really do some productive things. It's going to take time, and unfortunately, we just don't have a lot of time with just, at the most, 2 games left.
Right. We're talking again with Charles McClellan. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Dr. Charles McClellan in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
I wish I was Dr. McClellan. I wish I was in those shoes making those big bucks.
We're talking with Charles Edmund of the Alcorn Sports Network. Now, I'm pretty sure you're aware the FCS playoffs drawings came out today, and unbeknown to HBCU fans, South Carolina State did not get the bid to be in the tournament. They beat Wofford, who was number 5 in the top 10 at the time that they beat them, and they lost. The only 2 losses were to FCS programs. It goes back to the scheduling that we were talking about. You guys were a hot topic this past week about scheduling. Where are you on all of this when it comes to scheduling, Charles?
Well, I mean, as a person, I'm kind of on the inside looking out. A lot of people are on the outside looking in when it comes to this type of topic. And I'm on the inside because I do work for SWAC University, and I am close with our athletic director, Derek Horn, and him and I, we had a long interview that I posted about the upcoming schedule that we have for 2020. And the way I look at it is an AD's job in scheduling is pretty tough because on one hand, you have to satisfy your administration. On the other hand, you have to satisfy your football coach and put together a schedule that's manageable for him and his team. And then on the other hand, you want to schedule games in close proximity where your fans can get to you, where your fans can come see you and support. So I think it's a tough dynamic, and I understand my buddy Ken Rashad did a podcast about it. Ken Rashad and I are great friends. He's a classmate of mine, a Grambling graduate, and it kind of irked him to see Alcorn play at Virginia Lynchburg, but everybody in the league is playing Lynchburg, and that's going to continue. Schools like that are going to be put on the schedule. You know, Jackson State's schedule came out, I believe, Friday, and they're opening up with Langston. So, I mean, even though what the commissioner would like is he would like not only to have a team in Celebration Bowl, which is a done deal, he also would like to have a team in the FCS playoffs. Now, we don't give an automatic bid to the FCS playoffs in part because not all teams are eligible to participate in the playoffs when it starts. The Bayou Classic is during the week of the playoffs. You've got the Turkey Day game. And until that changes, which it probably won't, we will not get an automatic bid. We'll get an at-large bid. And I think in order for us to get an at-large bid as a conference, in using the basketball terminology, you got to play on a string. All of our teams have to schedule more quality opponents, meaning FCS opponents. And I don't think the committee looks down on playing up because they understand the amount of revenue that comes in. But I also think it does hurt in terms of the playoffs, and that's what the commissioner is saying. When you're playing NAIA D3 schools, the church schools as some would call it, I think that hurts. According to the commissioner, and I interviewed him recently about this as well, it hurts the overall brand of the league. Now, he can strongly discourage teams from playing those type of teams, but there's no mandate, there's nothing on the books that says you can't do it. He's just trying to elevate the overall profile of the conference, and that's his job. He's supposed to do that. But is it trickling down to where the ADs are a little bit more aware of maybe scheduling better, scheduling more FCS opponents and things like that? I don't think that's going to change because, again, I think ADs have a tough job in satisfying their bosses, which is the presidents and CFOs, satisfying your football coach to where you want a good schedule to where you don't get beat up every week and playing these tough games each and every week. And then you want to have a schedule in which your fan base can be excited about it and get to you. Like next year, we've got Auburn. We open up with that game. And I know some people have some conversation about that, but you're going to get a $400,000 payday. But at the same time, you've got Fort Valley coming in, and then you got Lynchburg. Those are a couple of games. Now, that Fort Valley game might be a little tough, but I think the Lynchburg game is one, you win that game. You play all your players. Your fans are excited about, where things are. And I think that's the dynamic that you want if you're an athletic director. The FCS playoffs and I've been a part of 2 of those, by the way. It was called 1AA. It was back in the 90s. I was a part of 2 playoffs. We played Youngstown State and we played Northeast Louisiana University in Monroe. And I get it. I mean, it doesn't have the same wow factor as a Celebration Bowl. I get it, and it doesn't have the same payout as a Celebration Bowl. I get that. But there are others that would say, let's try to be the best at our level, which is we are an FCS conference. Let's try to be the best at the FCS level, which means going to the playoffs. Well, you're only going to get that with an at-large bid, and if you're taking the number 1 team, which is Celebration Bowl, then you got to have a strong 2, meaning strong schedule, meaning winning some of those games, and probably taking some of these lower-ranked teams off the schedule. So do I see that happening? Probably not. I don't see it. I mean, I think it's a good argument. It's a good discussion. But do I see it changing anytime soon? Probably not.
When you say all of that, and I'm hearing you. Remember, I just spoke about the big 3, Alcorn, Grambling, Southern. Okay. Yeah. Closely behind that will be Jackson State, Prairie View, 4 and 5. And let's just say, for the sake of staying competitive, staying relevant, okay, the desire is the Celebration Bowl, the SWAC Championship Celebration Bowl. We understand that. But for the sake of expanding the brand, if we start looking at, okay, there's a possibility of an at-large bid if I fine-tune my non-conference scheduling. Okay, and I'm not saying all schools, but those schools that can afford, and when I say afford, I'm not talking about monetary affordability, but I'm talking about brand recognition and recruiting affordability. Because whether you're in the Celebration Bowl or the FCS playoffs, it does bring a marketing to that said institution that honestly money can't buy. So if you're in an FCS playoffs because you played, let's just say, worthy enough schedule, for lack of a better term, and you were competitive, even though it's going to be hard enough to get in there, but it can give you a closer look. Would you think that would be fair to assume that at least Jackson and Prairie View could start scheduling in that manner?
Well, I think we all can. I mean, I think all of our teams can do that. I mean, because there's only one team going to the Celebration Bowl. So, again, and this is where I think, you know, in the bigger conferences and the big Power Five, we know these rivalries exist, LSU, Alabama, Auburn. They're rivals on the field, but I think in the boardrooms of the SEC office, I think every AD in the SEC understands that we're part of this big conference, and we have to schedule games and such to where you'll get the recognition for your school and then the recognition for the conference. Unfortunately, the FCS playoffs is not agreeable to everybody. And the FCS playoffs does not, even though it is the division that we're at, it doesn't get the exposure, it doesn't get the oomph from our fans, because a lot of our fans feel like, and I think it's kind of old school, but I think a lot of people still feel this way. Back in the day when we were in the playoffs, we were playing at Wyoming and Montana. I know we played at Youngstown State. But I do think that that's changing a little bit. I don't think they would necessarily send you a million miles away from home. You have the Southland Conference, which is an FCS conference. They'll probably keep you closer to home to be able to fill those stadiums up. And maybe even if everything works out to where you could even host an FCS playoff game. Again, that's a stretch, but I think it's a possibility, and that's what the commissioner is saying.
Right.
I mean,
because Nichols actually are going to host an FCS playoffs game.
Correct. That's right. But I do think, though, it's going to be a tough sell right now. I mean, the commissioner's made it known that he would like for a SWAC team to be in the FCS playoffs to get in that large bid. Well, in order to do that, there's quite a few things that have to happen. I think scheduling is the biggest thing. And if we're all playing good football, if we're all winning some games outside of the league, I do think the FCS committee will take that into consideration. In a perfect world, would you like to see an automatic bid? Absolutely. But it's not going to happen. The Bayou Classic is not going to move.
And I don't blame them. I don't blame them about moving.
And the Turkey Day Classic is not going to move up either. So
right.
that's not going to happen. So the only way you're going to get it is in an at-large situation, and it does mean improving the schedule. We're playing more quality, FCS teams, and those are hard to come by the way. I mean, I think everybody's looking at the Southland Conference. There are other conferences too, but geographically and realistically speaking, you're really hurt in that endeavor. Now, Alabama State plays Kennesaw State. They're an FCS opponent. That's okay. But then you look at some of the best teams in the FCS. You're talking about Montana. You're talking about North Dakota State, and a couple of our SWAC teams have played up there. Alcorn played James Madison one year. I was there for that. We had an 18-hour bus ride. I mean, you do get a guarantee. You know, you'll get slightly less than what you would get, obviously, for playing an FBS school. But then are you willing to make that long trip? You're probably going to be busing it. Is it worth it? And does it get the star power that the Celebration Bowl is now getting? No, it's not. But it on the back end, it does help the overall profile of the conference. And that's what the commissioner's talking about. So I do think it's going to be a tough sell. I think he's going to strongly discourage playing deep down these D2, D3s in NAIAs and others. He's just strongly discouraging it, but he can't stop it because other teams are doing it. And, you know, even a year or 2 out, 2 years out, it's going to continue. So I think it's just a tough sell. I think, you know, conversations have to continue to be had. And because the Celebration Bowl is above and beyond what everyone is targeting for, we need to continue to make that the premier game because at the end of the day, minus expenses and everything, you're still clearing about $600,000 in that game, 6 to 7, depending on how you want to spend it. And then if you have a home game on top of that, you're going to bring home at least $1 million in those two games if you're playing on campus and have a good turnout like Alcorn did last year, and I know they will this year. If they win, they go to the Celebration Bowl. The university will bring home well over $1 million for those two games, and that's something that you're not getting playing in FBS school. You know, you're only getting $400,000 to $500,000, if that much. So I think from a monetary perspective, I think that's probably what everybody's looking at. The FCS right now is not on anyone's radar, the FCS playoffs. Will it be at some point? I think it'll be conversations, but a lot of adjustments are going to have to be made. Some attitudes are going to have to change. Some ideas and ideals will have to change, and I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Well, my friend, we're definitely going to probably have to discuss this further down the road because it can go, as they say, tomato, tomato. But I got to get ready to close this segment out. But before I let you get off the hook, my man, I need a prediction from you for this Bayou Classic. Who's going to win? I heard you say, but I want something concrete. Who you think wins?
Well, I'll say this real quick. Even though you know I'm a homer with Alcorn, of course, because I work for the school and I'm a Grambling grad. I also like to throw a little reality in these conversations because I think fans today want the homerism, but they also want reality. So the reality for me is that Grambling's defense, I think, is going to win the day. Grambling's defense is really good. That front four is really good. And I don't think Southern's going to be quite as offensive as they've been. If it's a low-scoring game, it'll go to Grambling, and I think it'll be a low-scoring game. And so I do think Grambling's defense will rule the day. I have Grambling winning the game in a real low-scoring game, probably 23-17, so something maybe lower than that. I think defense will rule the day. Now, Southern's defense isn't bad either now. They can get off the field, but I think Grambling's defense is really good. And I think Grambling, ultimately in championship football, the championship game, Grambling's defense will win the day and win the game.
All right, you heard it, ladies and gentlemen. Alcorn Grambling projected SWAC 2019 championship. Charles Edmund of Alcorn Sports Network, thank you so much, my friend. And Lord say the same. We'll talk to you sometime next week, if that's all right with you, sir.
No problem at all.
All right. Yes, sir. We're going to take us a break, come back for our final segment with Johnnie Football Cole on Sports Report Live right here from the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Either way you got it, we'll be right back.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Call Agent Jeremy West at 936-931-3696 to see if you qualify to save up to 40% off your auto insurance.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Let's face it, from time to time, we'll have a need for an attorney, whether it's the case of a DUI, DWI, or any other circumstances that would find you on the other side of the law. Attorney Lee Van Richardson, located at 1047 Austin Street, is the one to call. Attorney Lee Van Richardson and his staff are equipped to help you get through your legal battles. Attorney Lee Van Richardson, 979-826-8008 in Hempstead, Texas. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Time truly flies. We want to thank Charles Edmund on the last segment with the Alcorn Sports Network. Want to thank Penny Lucas White from Alabama State. They won 4 consecutive volleyball championships, victorious over my beloved Panthers 3-0, 25-15, 20-25-20, and 25-20. But now we're going to transfer over to football. We're going up north to Dallas, Texas to hear from Johnnie Football Cole. How you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
You know what? Hey, brother, look, I'm in a better mood. My Pittsburgh Steelers won. They're 6-5. Talking about playoff possibilities. And the Cowboys lost.
Yeah. It's a lot of unhappy Cowboys.
Yeah, it is. And my wife is one of them. And but it is what it is. We had a what we thought was going to be an interesting game turned out to be a laugh for our game of the week, man. Alcorn.
Well, fortunately, I was there at the game in person.
Okay.
I'm down here in Montgomery with my brother. I had some property that I had to look into. I actually laid a floating floor, but unfortunately, I have to drive to Jackson and met him there and watched the game myself.
So you got first-hand experience, man.
Yes, sir.
Talk to me.
Well, I didn't think either offense played well at all. And it was a game of big plays. And I thought Alcorn made a bunch of big plays offensively. I thought they played well defensively because they held Jackson State to just 150 yards total offense. Also, Jackson State were bad on special teams. And, of course, when you're, losing 2 of the 3, offense, defense, and special teams, most chances you ain't going to win the game. And also, they turned the ball over 4 times. So it wasn't a good showing for Jackson State at all. And when you're playing a good Alcorn coach football team, Coach McNair, you can't make those mistakes. You got to be able to move the ball and not go 1, 2, 3 and out. They had the ball over 25 minutes for 150 yards. That's not good at all.
That's not a lot. I mean, that's not impressive. Let me ask you this, Coach. Do you believe that Alcorn may have played down to the level of Jackson State? Because that happens from time to time.
That could have. Jackson State got a good football team.
Okay.
And they're in transition. You got a new coach who was already on the staff. So there's old issues, there's old problems, and then he's on a 2-year deal. And then, they had a problem with an eligible player earlier in the season. So they got some problems over there at Jackson. I was surprised to see there was more Alcorn State Braves than there were Jackson Tigers. But, both schools are very close. So it's usually well attended anyway.
Right. And, like you say, when the schools are close in their proximity, and then one team has a little bit more to play for and the other one is just like, oh, well, then sometimes they take advantage of the opportunities of getting those seats right there. Now, we know that Alcorn's going to host. We had a projection from Charles Edmund on our last segment. He believes Grambling is going to find a way to get past Southern to meet up with Alcorn for this championship. Who do you see being on top with this weekend's matchup coming up against the Braves, not the Braves, but the Tigers and the Jaguars for this Bayou Classic?
Yeah, I've always liked that quarterback from Grambling.
Hickbottom.
I think he's special.
Okay.
I think that they find a way to win the game. I'm still not impressed with Southern's defense. I think they had some holes, and it's a hard time running the ball. So it depends on how Grambling come out and attack Southern. And I always, I've been saying from day one of the best defenses is keeping offense off the field. And if Grambling come out and run the ball successfully, because Southern does have a great coach, Chennis Berry does a great job offensively. I know the head coach is going to have them ready to play. But if you're running that ball and you eating up the clock, I'm going to get an edge to Grambling.
Okay. So you see Grambling and Alcorn facing off. It'll be at the reservation because Alcorn has earned the home field advantage. Do you see Alcorn getting past Grambling, or do you think Grambling has what it takes to get past Alcorn?
I think it's going to be a good football game.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a good football game. Let me see. I like to see. I'm going to watch the Bayou Classic, and very closely, and we're going to see what happens.
I personally believe in my heart of hearts, as a warrior, as a man, as testosterone flows to your body, to say, I don't care who I play. But in my heart of hearts, I believe Alcorn would rather face off against Southern.
I believe that. I believe that as well. Grambling got two nice backs, and one of them is pretty big size, and they've always been great in the secondary. And the front on defense is good. I think offensively, they got some people on the outside that can make things happen. They just got off to a slow start, and I think the development of their quarterback from game one and then playing some of them Division I teams have, he's peaking at the right time.
Okay. And other news of the day, I guess they would say something trending of today. The FCS put out their matchups, and to everyone's surprise and disappointment, South Carolina State did not get an at-large invite. What is your take on that, Coach?
Well, the surprising thing about that is those coaches that they pick on those committees. And a lot of times, tradition wins out what's right. And South Carolina State's been down for a long time when they used to be very good. And of course, the university ran into some financial issues. And then all of a sudden, they pop up. And they were good, like early 2000s, late 90s. And I think that has something to do with it. A lot of times, those coaches, they vote for those traditional schools.
Well, I understand that you vote for traditional schools, but when you have a body of work of beating a top 10 FCS in the likes of a Wofford, and then you lose, your two losses are to FCS programs, and I know it's almost a reward. If you're consistent next year, then we might make up for what we overlooked this year, and that's part of how it goes. But you got to be scratching your head, and what else do they need to do?
Well, I mean, that's part of the game. I remember when we were at Tennessee State in 1999 and finished 11-0 in regular season and did not win the Black College National Championship. Because we went on in the playoff and lost the first round to A&T. But we had lost both quarterbacks, the starting quarterback and the number 2 quarterback. Wow. And, we finished 11-0 in the season. And then they only beat us 14-7 in the first playoff game, and we had a number 3 quarterback. So just think about a number 3 quarterback in the FCS. He barely could take a snap. But, those things like that happen. I remember, Texas Southern 2010, we had a record with Albany State, and they chose Albany State for national championship, and we ended up losing one Black College game. And then we said, we'll compare schedules. And of course, just like you were just saying, we played a Rutgers that year, Connecticut, and then I'm losing to Tuskegee. But, those things happen, you know, and you just got to come back and try to be consistent.
Well, you got to be consistent, and I hear you, as they say, loud and clear. Coach, you know the music in the background means that we have come toward the end. But look, man, I want to say thank you and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. We still got some more football left, but I don't know about you, Coach. This has been one sweet ride.
Well, first, you know, like you said, hopefully we can continue this. I just want to thank you for, one, just giving me the opportunity to share my knowledge and experience with you and your audience. I think I have a lot to offer to Black College, and still I got a lot of gasoline in my tank. I love the game of football. I've had passion for HBCU athletics. I am as you know, a HBCU graduate, and so are my daughters and my family. And I want to wish you and your family and everybody out there happy Thanksgiving. And thank you for allowing me to share with you.
Well, we appreciate it very, very much. We want to thank our guests for tonight, Johnnie Football Cole, Charles Edmund of the Alcorn Sports Network, and Penny Lucas White, four-time consecutive SWAC volleyball champion of 2019, victorious over my beloved Panthers, 3-0 on today. And they'll go on to represent the conference in the NCAA tournament. We want to thank our sponsors for tonight. Attorney Lee Van Richardson of Hempstead, Texas, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance of Waller, Texas, and Diva Skin Conditioner, located at divafeet.com. That's D-I-V-A-H feet.com. If you are diabetic, have eczema, whatever skin conditions you may have that may have been caused by diabetes, visit that website today. Money back guarantee. I've got the exit stage left for right now. We are going to fade into the night. And if the Lord says the same and the creek don't rise, we will be at Waller High School tomorrow for some basketball action. Waller taking on Navasota. And, of course, the Mike Prince Show at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Good night to all a good night. And we'll see you on the other side.